What's up, peoples? It's your boy Benny Bands, host for the Culture Show. And today, man, I got a very interesting topic today, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna like this, man. You know what I'm saying? For all the things that's going on in the world with the COVID, you know, with the racial tension going here and going there. You know what I'm saying? But I got an expert. I like to call him an expert. You know what I'm saying? Because from what I've seen, he's an expert. He goes by the name of Marshall Fields. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on the show,
man. No doubt, man. We're going to jump right into it, man. You know what I'm saying? So if I take off my jacket, it get hot in here, you know what I'm saying? It's because what he's saying. You know what I mean? But, man, you do something, what is it called? The Freedom Racism course?
Yeah, it's the Freedom from Racism course.
Okay.
And it's actually the Freedom from Racism training using communication to overcome race.
Okay, so break that down for me because that was a whole lot of words.
It is a whole lot. Here's the thing, man. But before I actually did the course, there was a whole lot of pre-work that went into it. But, you know, we'll talk about that a little later. Mm-hmm. But as far as the name, I went through these different courses and different things that like try to teach you how to make a course, like create a course name that's going to be enticing and tasty and catch attention. And I was like, man, this is kind of difficult because it's already a difficult subject. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when you think about freedom from racism, it's not about just being free from racism for a particular race. Because I think oftentimes in our society, when we think about being free from racism, you think about the lack of oppression among people of color or within the BIPOC community. But we are all slaves to racism when it comes to how we interact on a daily basis between our fellow human beings. Anything that gets in between you being able to relate and treat someone as anything less than what God created them as, that's where we have a problem. So everybody suffers from it.
So okay, I'm curious. What got you into this field or this work that you're doing now? I know it just didn't happen overnight. Like you said before, it was, you know, it's a lot of stuff that, you know, builds up and it's just like it takes its course or takes its path, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I don't know if it was from an early age, you know what I'm saying, something that happened 5 years ago, but, you know, what really made you seriously get off into what you're doing now?
There are a lot of different milestones that, you know, brought me to this moment where I'm at. So just to go back, you mentioned childhood. As a child, I was always someone who was a peace seeker and a peacemaker. I remember at 5 years old being in the hallway of my mom's house, and my mom and my brother, they were in an argument. And at 5 years old, I remember kind of stepping in because I was like, I can see both sides of this. Nobody's wrong. It's just you're misinterpreting how the other person's communicating. So I remember settling things in our household between my brother, who's, you know, a year and 2 months my senior, and my mom. So that's kind of always been a tendency. But the way I got into this course, or the road that led, it's a long story, man. So, you know, feel free to hop in. I don't want to
I want to tell you this. When you said your mama and your brother, mama was right. I don't care if mama was wrong.
That's the smart way to survive in a household growing up. You know, I mean, you know, oh goodness. But what happened was, and I'll just kind of reverse engineer it. So when you have a course, and it is about a simple topic. Let's say I was doing a course on how to, you know, how to work recording equipment, or how to work, you know, the webcam or something. That's technical, right? Correct. So I say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. When you're dealing with something that has to do with a topic like systemic racism or racism in general, we're talking about a whole set of complex emotions and mental states of being. And so working backward from that, what happened, I created the course, and the course was created from a set of webinars. And there were 5 webinars that I did, had a totally different name as what the course has now. I wanted to make sure, because, you know, being in learning and development for 20 years, I've seen so many courses done poorly, and I've seen so many courses that tackle this topic about racism and kind of communication, but mostly focusing on the compliance standpoint of it and the motivation not to get in trouble, not to get sued, not to get fired. And they were so cookie cutter, and they were so whitewashed, and they were so lacking of the meat and the substance that it takes to create a change in behavior. And so I did the webinars, and they were, number one, for me to test the content, but number 2, to test the delivery, because if you are having a conversation or creating a training course, if it's not being digested and received and people become, defensive, you're wasting your time. And so before those webinars happened, I had a podcast called PChatP, which became the name of my company. And PChatP, PCHATP stands for Positive Communication Habits and Thought Process. Okay. And it was all about what it says. It was all about everyday situations so that we can create better communication, whether it be from road rage or communicating in the workplace.
Okay.
While I was doing that, I realized that I was focusing on a bruise instead of a broken bone. And also, there are certain situations in which if you focus on the most difficult or one of the most difficult subject matters around that, then you can conquer everything else that you're working towards. So that would be like, I studied martial arts from the age of 7 until 14, thanks to Charles Fields. He's awesome. But
you still know some? Little?
The type of training we went through, you don't forget it.
Okay, all right.
You don't forget it.
Yeah, got a ninja over here.
Muscle memory.
Okay,
but I wouldn't say a ninja. I mean, I'm close.
Oh, look.
I'm close.
Yeah.
But so when you think about fighting, whether it be UFC, martial arts, whatever, especially a street fight, if you start off fighting someone like Kimbo Slice, if you don't know who Kimbo Slice is, just
you got to YouTube
it. You'll understand what I'm saying.
No doubt.
If you start off fighting someone like Kimbo Slice, and then if you were on the street and you got in a fight with an average everyday Joe, you're probably going to be okay.
Right.
If you can tussle with Kimbo, you'll be okay.
No doubt.
And so if you think about it from that aspect, if we can learn to use communication to overcome racism, we'll be able to learn to use communication to overcome, spousal disputes, talking with our children in the workplace, everyday situations, because there are 12 steps for confronting racism, but they're actually universal. And so
this works for all races. I mean, not just black and white. It's for all people in general.
It's for all people in general, because we all have a tendency to speak from a place of emotion, especially when emotion is the trigger for the conversation. But the thing is, it's good to have emotion to trigger a conversation, because emotion is just energy in motion. And you don't want to have a conversation that doesn't have any compassion or energy behind it.
Right.
Here's the danger. We hand the keys over to our emotion, and it drives the conversation. And so when human beings are talking to other human beings, we often reflect. So if I feel like you raise your voice, I'm gonna raise my voice.
Right.
You using profanity, I'm gonna use profanity. You coming at me, I'm gonna. So all of these things, and then we add on the topic of racism.
So you speaking, it seems like you've been through that before. Numerous times, because you speak in depth about it, you know what I mean? So it's like you got your own personal experiences, you know what I'm saying, dealing with what you are, the course that you're teaching.
Absolutely. My personal and professional background I think sometimes we don't have a table that we fit at. So it's like, I'm looking for a place at the table. I've come to realize through just self-development and living, if you are unique and you walk within your assignment, the table will come to you. And so, I've definitely experienced racism. I mean,
because you're a big guy, man. He about 6'6", 6'7", so I know he experienced a whole lot of, probably not just racism, probably his own kind wanted to beat him up. Saying that, it also goes that the course that you're teaching, it's just not for different colors. It could be person of the same color, correct?
Absolutely. Well, see, the thing is, your race and how you view the world are going to be intimately connected to your perception. So if I was having a conversation about something that had to do with racism or whatever, and you being the person of the same color that I am, if you disagree with me, there's still the potential for, negativity.
Right.
And so, it's not contained within, an opposing race or a race that is different from yours. It's contained within the human condition, which we always talk about, on either side of the fence, yada, yada, yada. Or, I can see both sides. Here's the thing. There are no sides. That's an illusion.
Okay.
Just like racism is a construct. We are human beings.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the more we can understand that, then the more we can approach what we were intended to be, how we're intended to be communal animals without so many things that divide us that are just illusions. Social. I mean, they talk about social unrest, and oftentimes when people hear that, they segment it into a certain part of society or certain part of culture. But the thing is, if there is social unrest, regardless of what the people look like in the crowd, it is unrest within the society, not a particular culture. And so, we always try to simplify situations. There's this thing called decision fatigue. It's when you just get tired of having to think so much. I remember being in relationships. I've been married for 18 years, thank God. Yeah. But I can remember being in relationships thinking, man, it shouldn't be this hard.
Right.
But the thing is, if you look at history and you focus it on, what the course is about, there were so many things that happened that are right now nobody's fault. Like there are no living slaves right now. Right. And there are no living enslavers right now. I mean, let me digress. Sex trafficking, that's a very real thing. Right. Very adamant about that. People close to me have been affected by it. But I mean, in the dynamic that we think about when we think about the past, as far as, African Americans, Black people,
what our ancestors went through.
Yeah. So there's nobody who is responsible for what happened then, but we are responsible for what happens right now. What happens right now in the legacy and the reality of our culture that we hand over to the next generation, that's on us.
So you speak about culture, like I got the culture show, and the culture, to me, when I started this podcast, it right now the word culture is used loosely.
Very.
So a lot of people, like, they use culture as, especially if you only connected to a certain group of people, they refer to it rap, hip hop, or urban fashion, something of those lines.
Pop culture.
You know what I'm saying? Pop culture. So it's like with me, culture. I dig into it deeper. I just don't want to interview the rapper. You know what I'm saying? If I do the rapper, I want to do the white rapper. I want to do the Chinese rapper. I want to do all types of things because it's culture. You know what I'm saying? Your culture is different from my culture, but we can learn from each other's culture. You know what I'm saying? So my thing 100%. Is I try to be diverse with it, and give everybody a platform, or give a platform for anybody who wants to say anything what they have on their mind. So my thing is with the culture, like football culture. And it goes on the course that you are training in, what you are teaching rather. They had Aaron Rodgers and they had Antonio Brown about the COVID. Now, Rodgers, he didn't get vaccinated. He wasn't punished. Antonio Brown, he got tested positive, and they fined him because he didn't get vaccinated. So, I mean, something like that, you know what I'm saying, plays on the lines of what you are teaching, correct?
It does, but it's actually much deeper than race. Here, right. All right, so check this out. There's this thing. I'm going to give you the technical term, then I'll break down exactly what it means, because people need to know these things because it will help empower them to see situations from a different lens. So there's this thing called neuroassociation. It's when you talk about something that is unfamiliar in a way that you associate with things that are familiar, and so you build a bridge to new learning. Okay. So watch this and tell me if this makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. I won't be hurt. So when you know someone, regardless of race, when you know someone and you find out that they have done, or there's a rumor or accusation that they've done something, you have a higher level of empathy and understanding. Oftentimes you will assume that they're not guilty. Right. You will say, nah, they wouldn't do that. I know them. So then you take that and you apply that on a broader perspective, and you mix in the division of race, and how in this country in the past we weren't allowed to organically grow together. Right. When someone of a different race commits or is accused, there is less empathy automatically, because we don't associate with them as someone that, nah, they wouldn't do that. Nah, they wouldn't. So, and when that happens, it makes it more visible. It's kind of like, if you're taking fingerprints and you have to dust them in order to see it. Well, racism, systemic racism, it exists every day. It's rampant, actually, and it happens in corporate, nonprofit, church. It happens everywhere. But it takes moments like what happened with Aaron. It takes moments like that to dust the fingerprints so you can see and identify it. But at that same time, if you are predisposed to deny it, then you can justify it. Data, as much as we have right now, as much information, as much logistics and logarithms, there's so much that you have the ability to pick and choose what you believe. So if you hear something that could be true, but you don't want to believe it, you can go find something else to believe. That's why it was said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, because there are some things that if you give it true, open heart, open mind thought, it will become self-evident to you. But you can spin, the culture of spin, you can spin anything to co-sign with what you already agree, so you don't have to change.
Right. So do you find yourself, I understand you believe what you're doing, but you ever find yourself, slipping, like if somebody did something, you be like, you get emotionally, you know what I'm saying, about it, and you have to have a woosah moment, you know what I'm saying, and think about, what's going to happen next, and also what you teaching or preaching, should I say?
Yeah. 100%.
So how do you deal with that? I mean,
I'm outcome focused. I always think about the outcome. What outcome do I want from what I'm about to say and what I'm about to do? Because if you stay outcome focused and you give some logical thought and you put into practice some education and communication skills, then you will be focusing on an outcome, not focusing on the issue. So when I do feel those emotions, and I do, I feel them deeply. When I hear about someone who has been unjustly killed, unjustly, incarcerated, someone who has had their baby taken from them, someone who has been affected, fired, fined, arrested, frisked. When I hear about any type of injustice, it impacts me, because I know that when that happens to you, it diminishes part of your humanity, and it takes away. And there's been so many negative things across the span of the birth of this nation that there is a righteous anger. And here's the thing. Everyone who is angry when something like that happens, you have the right. It's not like, hey, now calm down. It's like, no, you have the right. You should be pissed off. In fact, I remember times when I was controlling my anger, and I would be around friends of a different race, and they would be like, hey man, can you believe what just happened? Why ain't you more angry? I'm like, dude, I'm furious. But I've learned that acting and expressing the anger in a way, it tears down the opportunity for a connection instead of building one. And the only way we're going to move forward is to build that connection so that, the understanding can occur. Otherwise, the defense mechanisms go up. If you can disarm someone in a conversation, then you can have a conversation. But if you walk in with a gun, how are you going to disarm someone?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let me disarm you. Why would you put down your weapon if I'm holding one?
Right.
So I try to disarm situations like that by being disarmed first, by not approaching someone in an aggressive manner.
The outcome. I like that. I like that word. You think about the outcome. So, somebody come to you, think about that 10 to 20 you about to go do. You don't want to do that 10 to 20, do you?
Yeah, no. I don't want to do the 10 to 20, but I also don't want to ruin the opportunity because we have big and small opportunities to impact society. Let's say you had a situation where you felt racial tension and you felt like you were being treated unfairly. And so I'm talking to you and you're like fired up. You're ready to throat punch someone. And I'm like, okay, let's walk this through.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What happened? All right. So you tell me X, Y, Z. I'm like, all right, I agree with you. That's wrong. Shouldn't have happened. What happens if you throat punch him? You're going to feel better in that split second. What's going to happen next? Do you want a solution that has longevity, or do you just want to have that
short term?
Right.
Right. And a lot of guys, you know what I'm saying? And I've been in that situation many times where, I react without thinking first, and I feel good in that moment, but next day after, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Here comes the problem right back. So now I got to deal with the problem all over again. This time I might have to deal with it even harsher. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to get dealt with harsh. You know what I mean? So I understand, where your thinking comes in, the thinking process comes in, because, you like you said, you don't want to trigger anybody if you can, dissolve it by just having a conversation. So, I mean, I understand that. So in this course, I want to dig into this course. So what is the topics? And I know you touched on them, but like, what is the topics that you have on the course? How long is it? Where can people get it?
Gotcha. Before I do that, can I tell a quick story?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay,
so we're all about stories.
Years ago, it was in '99. I was working as a phone tech and installation repairman at Bell South Mobility. No longer exists anymore. Okay, but it went from being Bell South. You'll hear a familiar name. It went from being Bell South Mobility to being Singular Wireless to being AT&T Wireless. Okay. And so I remember it's 2573 Richmond Road, right in front of where the DoubleTree was. When I worked at that shop, I did installations. And so what would happen is sometimes if we were busy with the customer, another tech would go out, go over where the person wanted the phone installed. That was back before Bluetooth, okay, where they wanted the phone installed. And then they would bring you the keys, tell you where they wanted it, and they pull it around.
Right.
And so a guy went over an installation for me, Mike Lewis, and he is a Caucasian, and he right
they got surgeries for that now.
He got the reverse Michael Jackson. Yeah, he's black now. But no, he came to me, and after going over an install, he was like, yeah, man, maybe you want me to do this. I was like, nah, man. I'm trying to get in as many installs as I can because I'm trying to build that skill. He was like, I don't know. I said, Mike, what is it, man? What's going on? You kind of freaking me out.
Right.
He said, guy's kind of racist. Okay. Just real quick for the record, for everybody listening, you can't be kind of racist.
Yeah, if you are and you're not.
You either are or not. I'm not kind of tall.
Yeah.
I'm 6'7".
Yeah.
Okay. And so I said, what makes you think that? Because even then, like way before I even started working on the course, I was curious to know like what made you think that. And so he said, wow. I said, dude, what is it? He said, don't do a nigger job. When I went over the thing. And I was like, oh, okay.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. So I was like, give me the keys, Mike.
Wow.
I was like, give me the keys. Because I realized that, yes, I did have the opportunity to go, a what job? Were you talking about me? Oh, you don't want me? You think I was gonna help him redefine, and then I'm fired. Okay, I just had a new baby boy that was born, and that's another thing is when you think about outcomes and then you think about your responsibilities, it's a different game, and so I saw that as an opportunity to redefine what his thought was about people who look like me.
Right.
And so I went out there, and it was funny. I remember the look on his face. I said, hey, my name's Marshall. I'll be doing your install. Eyes just popped out of his head. And he said, oh, okay. And because, he's automatically thinking.
Right.
By the way, quick lesson. When you say things to people that you assume have your same bias, and then you realize that they don't, or you realize that they're affiliated with someone who would definitely be offended, it's a point of realization, okay? Because he thought he was talking to another white dude, and that's what it was, and it wasn't going to go any further. And it might have been, but I was insistent on doing the install. So now he's looking at this big black guy coming to do his install, and then he's thinking, oh, God, I wonder if old dude said don't do it. Oh, my. And so I didn't bat an eye. Pulled it around, did the installation, put it back, and we always let people inspect them after we were finished. I said, go ahead, take a look. Tell me if you like the type of job that I did.
Right.
He looked at it. Looks good. Have a nice day.
That was it. So the guy who told you that, where was he at? What happened to him?
I
got off into the story now. You know what I'm saying?
The guy who brought me the keys.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, I left there a while ago, but I think he actually still works there. And if he,
I'm talking about that day. That day when he told you that. When he told you, said don't do it.
Well, you know, okay. So there's a scene in the movie The Matrix where the Oracle, are you familiar with The Matrix?
Yeah.
Okay. Where the Oracle says, and don't worry about the vase. And then he knocks the vase over.
Right.
He said, now what's really going to bake your noodle is, would you have knocked it over had I not said that? Well, in that moment, I started thinking to myself, did he not bring the keys to me because he was trying not to have a nigger job done on it? Did he not bring the keys to me and not want me to do the install? Was it to protect me, or was it to pacify and accept the racism that was being shown? That it kind of messed with me later. But yeah, I mean, in that moment, he was like, man, you're good. Because the expectation is that we will always react, not just we as in African Americans, but people in general. We will always react in a reflective or an aggressive manner when something that is that heinous is put before us. And so he was like, man, I can't believe you did that. And so I was like, you know, I'm not going to let his ignorance define me. Because in that moment, I could have done that and I could have proven him right, but I proved him wrong.
Man, hey, this is Marshall Fields, man. He's breaking it down. Got hot and he had to take off my jacket, man, as you see. You know what I'm saying? Got me sweating a little bit. You know what I mean? Got me going all the way back, thinking about, you know, back in the day with the ancestors and all that type of stuff. Yo,
boy,
Roots.
Hey, man, I remember they showed Roots, and I need to get back. I want to talk more about the course, but I remember they showed Roots when we were in high school, and there was not any. There was very little context put around why we as a school was watching that movie. And I remember, man, I absolutely, like, that was the first time I saw it. And after I finished seeing it, man, I was like, man. And then I started looking through a different lens and I started seeing different things here and there. I was like, I'm trying to hate white people right now. I remember having that feeling.
Right.
And, you know, I almost started a Junior Black Panthers within the,
you was
like,
going all
real,
the way out with
you
it.
have no idea.
Malcolm X.
literally.
Right.
But there was a series of events that happened that stopped that, and it's probably for the best. But when I was developing the course, it was all about being outcome focused and creating a conversational tone with truth and applying not just history, because oftentimes, critical race theory, oftentimes people put labels on things so that they can, you know, deny it or avoid it or demonize it. But if you just talk from a place of history and you add context to teach,
Right.
it becomes more than a regurgitation of negative things that happen. Why are you bringing up old stuff? It's actually, parts of it are still happening now because we haven't learned what we needed to learn from the past. So employing history with communication skills and emotional and situational intelligence. That is really what the course is about. And so there are 5 modules, a total of 32 lessons. It's about 3 hours altogether, including, you know, the quizzes. The first 4 modules have quizzes.
Is it all at once, or you take your time, do it as?
It is totally self-paced because it's got to be. Have you, or any of you all out there listening, think about a time that you've been in any type of corporate, and when I say corporate, I mean compliance training, whether it be on unbiased or whatever. When you are in a room full of people that are dealing with some of their own issues about the topic, and they're on Front Street and everybody's watching them, they're going to act accordingly, whether they agree or disagree.
Facts.
So it kind of taints the learning process. It's like if you were sitting down in front of Wolfgang Puck, and everybody in there has talked about how awesome the dish that you're about to eat is, and you taste the dish. Some people don't care, but a lot of people would feel this pressure.
Say yes.
Like, and you eat it, and you're like, man, mentally you're thinking, this is the grossest thing I've ever had. But everybody's like, oh, do you love it? It's so good, right? He used the essence of herb and the da-da-da-da. And it's like, oh, yeah, I really taste the sweat socks in it, man. It's really coming. So, you know, apply that to being in a class and you're talking about racism, and you've got Caucasians and African Americans, all these folks. It's hard to get genuine feedback and reaction in that type of situation. So having something that you can sit in the privacy of your own home without people going, and just looking at you, pressure. Without that social pressure, it can become a more personal journey. And each module builds strategically on each module. So by the time you get done, you're like, whoa. And everybody who's taken it has had that same reaction. They've been like, whoa.
See, that was my next question. Okay, so people outside of your skin color have taken the course. What have there been? What type of feedback have you gotten from them?
Well, here's the thing. If you do the pre-work correct, you'll know the result. So through the webinars, getting feedback and adjusting, the thing is, I couldn't change the material. I couldn't change the content. I just had to change how it was delivered. And that's the same thing with the conversation. Like as you're learning how to speak with people, keep the content, but deliver it in a way, because everything you say is food for thought. And people have a choice whether they eat it or not. They can lie about eating it, but you'll be able to tell based upon the actions that manifest after the discussion or the learning. And so I made sure that people that were far left, far right, because it's not about politics, it's about people. So I made sure that all of the test audiences, as well as the people that took it after the fact, would be able to provide me feedback based on, a diverse understanding and perception, So, the feedback was incredible. It is incredible. And, specifically, this is a training that should be in any corporate, in any corporate environment, church environment, your family, your friends. This is a training that can help bring communities together, because the things that divide us, we have this illusion that it is race. And so what we do is we create diversity initiatives and DEI, and we have a mission statement. And we go after recruiting people who will mix up the population of a company. So then you insert people of color or from the BIPOC and you put them in there, but you haven't changed the mindsets that caused the lack of diversity in the first place. So you put people into a place, but you haven't diversified the thinking.
I got you. So have you, I know you have, but you speak about corporations, families and stuff, and trying to get into communities. Have you taken your course into these spaces, or are you trying right now? Or what's the verdict on that?
Oh man, that's a great question. So yes, I am. I've got some partnerships, and we're finalizing them. One that has already manifested is a partnership with LM Communications.
Okay.
And so right now, through a trade agreement, they are all of their employees are getting access to the course, and then I am getting ads ran. So, and it's more than just ads. We're actually having a partnership, which what that looks like is when they have the opportunity to be an advocate for the change that this course represents, it's where they're keeping the promises that they make in their mission statement, which so many companies need to do. You put out when George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, when those things happened, it was like, oh, we need to put out a statement. And then that was it.
Right.
It's like, how can you affect the change? It's like punching somebody upside the head and say, my bad. We good now? No, you're not good, because you need to take action, and it needs to be tangible. And so, that partnership, and then partnership with United Way of Bluegrass, and partnership with Bethel Harvest Church, and partnership with Via Media, which is, a media company, digital and linear or cable TV. Right. So there are these things that are beginning to happen, and I couldn't be more excited. But the thing is, I'm not excited because it's a dream. I'm excited because it's a purpose.
Purpose, right?
It's a movement and a community shift that we're creating, because so many things have needed to change for so long, but it didn't have someone who, number one, had 20 years of experience in learning and development. It didn't have someone who had, who was or is an electronic engineer, which if you think about engineering, the thought process that goes into that, schematics and all of that. And then Kepner and Trago, situation appraisal training. And then a few other things, but then on top of that, being a life coach. And so all of those things went into creating this course so that it can meet people no matter where they're at on the spectrum. There are really two main people that benefit from it. There's four, but the two main ones is, number one, the people who find themselves in situations where they want to speak up, but they don't feel empowered or informed, and they're scared. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. And then you have the other folks who, and when I say the other folks, there is this stigma, and I know it's happening to people that are hearing right now. They think, oh, you're talking about the white people.
White people, yeah.
Or
you had me, yeah.
Or he's talking about the black people.
Right.
I have seen both black, white, brown, any spectrum fit into what I'm about to say, which is this. There are some people that are so what we classify as woke.
Right.
And so aware of what has happened in the past that they hand the keys over to their emotion. It's like, how could you say that? How could you not know? How could you? And so it helps those people be more outcome focused and think about meeting people where they're at and creating positive outcomes to situations involving that type of tension.
Now I want to get back to something you said. Life coach. Said you was a life coach.
I am a life coach.
You are a life. Now I'm gonna give you my perspective on it, and then I want to hear what you got to say.
I'd love to hear it.
Life coach to me, that's a term I heard years ago. I'm like, life coach, and when I heard it, I was like, okay, life coach. I'm like, what the hell is a life coach? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, life coach. So I ran into somebody. I guess they had a life coach. And they was like, I got to go talk to my life coach. He had some type of problem or something happened in I guess, in his routine. I don't want to say in his life, in his daily routine. Right. I got to go talk to my life coach. And I'm like, man, you can talk to me. I can be your life coach. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I mean, all we got to do is go sit on the back somewhere and we can talk it out. You know what I'm saying? But, as the more I've got into it, and I haven't got into it that deep, research that deep, but I've seen that the life coach, you know what I'm saying, they are valuable to certain people's lives. Some people do need life coaches, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So how did you get into being a life coach? And, what are some of the, I don't know, what's the word?
Aspects of it?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I think all of us, to your earlier point, have a level of life coaching ability. It could just be sitting down having a cup of coffee with a friend, and within that situation, you can impart some information.
But you get paid to be a life coach, though. See, that's what was killing me. I said, man, you get paid to be a life? I need to be a life coach.
Well, with great power comes great responsibility. But yes, there are so many different forms of currency. So I wrote this book called Communicating to Grow. And in it, I talk about spiritual currency. All right. Okay. So we have spiritual currency that we can get from other people. I truly believe in reaping and sowing. There's energies that you can put out and they will come back to you. They might not happen when you want or how you want, but man, it's been proven so many times. So from a life coaching perspective, I have been doing many things in that realm, but I started reading books and I started, hearing issues that I was like, man, I don't know how to touch that. Right. I've never been through that. And honestly, they trust me so much, but that's out of my lane because it's like, man, I don't know how to handle that. And so I started learning and educating myself, about, persuasion, psychology, dark psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuroplasticity, neurolinguistic pathways, things that...
You're reading for real, ain't you?
I mean, I enjoy it.
Right.
I enjoy it.
I see. I mean, it shows, you know what I mean? But it goes how deep you get into it to be I'm going to say a life coach, but, it seems like to be a life coach, you need to be, I guess, keen on certain topics or on a vast many topics, correct?
I would say so. To be an effective life coach, you would definitely have to have a wide range of strategies and understandings, because everybody, like back to the food for thought comment, we live in a society that brings us up in environments, and within that environment, we learn how to cook. So if you were raised in a household that had all of its food like super spicy, that's how you prepare your food.
Right.
And the average person, when someone comes over to their house, man, you're going to love this. And they're going to cook according to how they were raised and according to how their brain thinks. But when people, a good life coach understands the dietary needs of the person that they're serving the information to, they understand what's at risk. Do they have an ulcer? Do they have other people within their household who are allergic to nuts? And so they structure their feedback according to the direction that the person wants to go, but also the circles that they revolve around. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes perfectly sense. Okay. I understand, and I kind of knew that, being a life coach, that you have to be educated to some degree on certain topics. Not to say you got to have a degree, but educated. So it's like I just couldn't fathom the idea of somebody getting paid to be a life coach, because that's the case. Any of us in this room could be a life coach if we knew all the things that needed to be a life coach, correct?
Yes. You could take certification, and, I would never diminish or limit the capabilities of anyone to do anything. I think if you have a passion and you put your mind to it, you can definitely do anything that you want to do. The one thing that I would say, if anybody's thinking about doing it, is there are lines that you have to draw, and you have to structure how you communicate to someone. Because have you ever gotten advice from someone when they're feeling a certain way, and then when they're feeling a different way, you could ask them for the same advice and they'll give you something totally different? Oftentimes people give advice based upon their current state.
Right.
And so I remember I went into a coaching session after losing my mother-in-law, and she and I were very close. And on an emotional level, I had to separate that for the sake of my client. And so they had dealt with some similar loss, as well as, we can have post-traumatic stress from many different events, including work, if you went through layoffs or you think you're going through a layoff or whatever. So in dealing with someone like that, while you're going through certain things, you've got to have the ability to completely separate your emotions and your thoughts from that situation. It's like if someone is coaching a sport, they live and breathe that sport.
Right.
And they understand the plays. Mm-hmm. And the difference with life coaching is life is the game, and the ball is the goal. The ball are the actions and the attitudes and the things that the client is carrying towards a goal. The goal is whatever they want, whether it be to increase and improve their communication skills, whether it be to, develop stronger relationships within their household, from children to spouse to significant other, whether it be, getting a promotion at work, going after different opportunities that extend outside of their profession, whether it be dealing with some issues that they've had, developmentally speaking. They might have been brought up in a household to where they didn't have a lot of self-esteeming or empowering, and they fought their way to a level of comfort and confidence, but they still let it impact how they deal with people. They have limiting thoughts and behaviors. And so you have to address that in a way that will help them grow and develop and take that ball, or take whatever that thing is and put it in the goal, which is, achieving what they want, because we all have a next version of ourselves.
Right.
And some of us never seek it because we're content where we are.
It's too hard sometimes. Some people think it's too hard, though. It takes too much. It takes too much. takes too much hustle. It takes too much. It just takes too much time. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, they're content on where they at.
Yeah, I mean, and even if someone feels content, life has a way of cutting you open, and you get to look at who you really are. You get to see that, and a lot of people go, "Ooh, yeah, nope, I ain't doing that." Other people go, "Ooh, I need some help." I got to deal with that relationship that I had with my mother. I have to deal with that relationship that I had with my father, and how he was verbally abusive, and I found myself being verbally abusive with my kids, and I have to make a decision: am I going to continue the cycle, or am I going to break it? You know, those are hard things to deal with, because we have mechanics. You know, we have thoughts, we have emotions, we have behaviors, and that creates a cycle. You know, you think something because of how you felt. That's why people say, you know, I feel some kind of way. And so the way you felt determines what you think about it. And then what you think determines what you do about it.
Right.
And then what you've done, you're going to feel some kind of way about it.
Yeah. Hey, man, this is Marshall Fields, man. Tell the people where they can get the course at. You know, give them your socials, how they can contact you about the course or anything. Maybe want a life coach. He's a life coach. He's giving you the game right here. You know what I'm saying? And he's an electrical engineer. You know what I'm saying? Listen, he got it all under one roof right here. You know what I mean?
I appreciate the opportunity. I will say this. Right now, I'm not taking on any new life coaching clients.
He's booked.
Which feels good to be able to say. You know, I'm really focusing on the course right now. That's really what it's all about. But you can learn more by going to www.pchatp.com. You can find us on Instagram at pchatp. And then on Facebook, if you search for pchatp, or I still have the tag from when I first created the page based on the book. So you can search for Communicating to Grow. Where else? I'm on LinkedIn. I'm in the process. I actually have a social media manager / publicist, and they're really trying to get me to be better about kind of renaming my name, Marshall Fields, for anybody who knows.
Yeah. It's clothing store.
if
when I saw it, I was like, Marshall Fields.
Right. Yeah. And that's hard to compete with.
Right.
So MT Fields is the direction I'm trying to rebrand to MT Fields. You know, same rose still smells the same.
Well, I was gonna say Marshall Fields, people, but MT Fields. I'm gonna be the person on here, you know what I'm saying, to say it first. You know what I'm saying, man. This was a pleasure talking to you, brother.
Pleasure talking to you, Benny.
Enlightened me, had me sweating. You know what I'm saying, man. You can get me at Band's Culture Show on the gram and on TikTok. Yeah, it's been another one down, people. I appreciate y'all tuning into the Culture Show. MT Fields. I'm your boy Benny Bands, the host for the Culture Show. We out.